African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and on the show today, the US Senate blocked a vital funding package on Thursday, deepening a showdown over Department of Homeland Security money as lawmakers grapple with fallout from the Minneapolis shooting of a US man by federal agents. Now, negotiations between the White House and Democrats to avert a government shutdown continue amid rising tensions. We're going to unpack all of that on the show today. Stay tuned.
Well, also on the show, Turkey is stepping up into the escalating standoff between Washington and Tehran, offering to mediate as Iran's foreign minister visits Ankara. Now, the move comes amid U.S. military warnings, heightened tensions in West Asia, and fears of conflict following Iran's deadly protest crackdown. We'll get to the details on that story, but first, let's take a look at all the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour.
They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department.
US President Donald Trump says he hopes to avoid military action against Iran and plans further talks on a possible nuclear deal. While Defense Secretary Hegseth says the military is ready to act if needed.
I personally asked President Putin not to fire into Kiev and the various towns for a week, and he agreed to do that. And I have to tell you, it was very nice. A lot of people said, don't waste the call, you're not going to get that, and he did it. And we're
Donald Trump says Vladimir Putin agrees to his request to halt attacks on Kiev and other Ukrainian cities after Russian strikes cripple power supplies during extreme cold. Ukraine's President Zelensky thanks Trump.
Trump's border chief, Tom Homan, says some federal agents could be withdrawn from Minneapolis after public backlash over shooting deaths of 2 Americans. But he maintains that immigration enforcement will continue.
A lot of people said they'll never disarm. Looks like they're going to disarm. And they did help us with those bodies, getting them back.
Donald Trump claims Hamas will disarm, a step the group has not confirmed, but will be major progress in fragile ceasefire with Israel. He praises Hamas for helping return the remains of the hostages.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says talks with China's Xi Jinping show really good progress on visa-free travel and tariffs, including whiskey tariffs, as both leaders call for closer ties to navigate global uncertainty.
U.S. eases sanctions on Venezuela's oil industry, allowing U.S. companies to operate in the country after Venezuelan MPs vote to open oil industry to private investment. Acting President Rodriguez hails move as historic.
Direct flights between Pakistan and Bangladesh resume after 14 years, with Viman Bangladesh Airlines operating its inaugural Dhaka-Karachi flight, receiving a water cannon salute at Karachi's airport.
Niger's junta leader General Tiani blames France, Benin, and Ivory Coast for a suspected jihadist attack on a military base at Niamey airport and thanks soldiers and Russian partners for repelling the attack.
Gold resumed its rally on Friday after a choppy session, rebounding from a roughly 4% sell-off that briefly took prices below about $5,300 an ounce. Prices pushed back above $5,500, extending bullion's rally this year.
Well, Donald Trump's Secretary of War says U.S. military is ready to carry out president's orders on Iran.
And Iran has already vowed to instantly hit back. The fingers are on the trigger, but the diplomacy option is also open. Efforts are underway to diffuse tensions and prevent an all-out war. Now, several governments in the region are trying to push the U.S. and Iran into talks to head off a possible conflict. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will travel to Turkey for talks aimed at preventing a U.S. attack. Reports say that Turkish diplomats have urged Tehran to offer concessions over its nuclear program to avert a conflict.
Well, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has also proposed a video conference between Trump and his Iranian counterpart, Masoud Pezeshkian. Araghchi's visit comes against a backdrop of urgent international diplomacy and increasingly aggressive threats from both sides. The U.S. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, said at a cabinet meeting that his department would be able to deliver on any military instructions given by Trump.
You may want to say something about the large fleet of ships that's heading over to the Middle East.
Same thing with Iran right now, ensuring that they have all the options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department.
Well, U.S. has gathered a massive military force in the region. But reports say that Trump is still considering his options. U.S. has increased its naval presence in the Middle East to 10 warships, including the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln. And when asked about it, Trump said he had talked to Iran and was planning to talk to them in future as well.
We have a lot of very big, very powerful ships sailing to Iran right now, and it would be great if we didn't have to use them.
Iran has threatened to instantly strike U.S. bases and aircraft carriers in response to any attack. Talking to state television, an Iranian brigadier general told state television that U.S. aircraft carriers have serious vulnerabilities and numerous American bases in the Gulf region are within the range of Iran's missiles.
Now, reports coming in from Iran indicated that Iran was already taking precautions in case of an attack. An unconfirmed report said that Tehran's mayor has ordered to convert the city's metro stations and underground parking lots into public war shelters.
Iran has also announced live fire naval exercises next week in the Strait of Hormuz. Press TV reported that the drills will be carried out by the naval forces of IRGC without specifying exact dates or the scale of the exercises. The Strait of Hormuz is a strategic waterway through which around 20% of the world's oil supply passes.
The European Union has designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. Now, Britain is also bringing in new legislation to do the same. The action against IRGC comes over its role in the deadly crackdown on recent mass protests.
In Iran, horrific crackdown on protesters has come at a heavy human cost. The EU already has sweeping sanctions in place, and today ministers agreed to designate Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. This will put them on the same footing with Daesh, Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda. Those who operate through terror must be treated as terrorists.
Meanwhile, Russia is ready to evacuate its staff from Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant if necessary. Hundreds of Russians were working at the facility which Moscow built for Iran. The facility is Iran's only operating nuclear power plant, and it was not targeted by U.S. during strike on Iran's nuclear facilities in June last year.
All right, now shifting our focus to another flashpoint in West Asia. The US has said that the next phase towards ending the Israel-Hamas war is in motion.
And speaking to reporters at a cabinet meeting, President Trump said that it appears that Hamas is prepared to give up its weapons, a move he suggested could mark a major breakthrough in efforts to stabilize a fragile ceasefire with Israel.
And now we want to get Hamas no guns, right?
Right, they're going to give it up. They're going to give up the
There's a good chance we're gonna
AK-47s.
get that. A lot of people said they'll never disarm. Looks like they're going to disarm. And they did help us with those bodies, getting them back. Look.
The US president also hailed cooperation with the Palestinian militant group after Israeli forces brought back the remains of Ran Gwili, who was the last hostage who was held in Gaza.
However, a senior Hamas official, Musa Abu Marzouk, refuted Trump's claim, saying that neither has Hamas agreed to disarm, nor was the condition raised with them directly. Remember, disarmament is a key part in the second phase of the ceasefire plan sealed in October.
Last week, US indicated it is fast moving towards the second phase of the plan, including rebuilding Gaza and establishing a group of Palestinian experts that will administer daily affairs.
Now, meanwhile, the Red Cross says it facilitated the transfer of 15 Palestinian bodies to the Gaza Strip after the last hostage held in the territory was returned to Israel earlier this week.
Furthermore, the Rafah border crossing linking Gaza with Egypt is to reopen on both sides for the first time in nearly 2 years. And this after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said that Israel has agreed to a limited reopening of the Rafah crossing for pedestrian passage only.
Now, Israel took control of the crossing in May 2024 following its military operation in the southern city of Rafah, and this has left thousands of Palestinians stranded in Gaza who are unable to travel abroad for medical treatment, education, or family reunions. And hundreds of Israeli Jews entered the city of Nablus to offer prayers in northern West Bank.
And the Israeli military escorted the devotees to Joseph's tomb, a biblical figure from the book of Genesis. Take a look at these visuals. And in other news, US President Donald Trump claims that Russia has agreed to halt attacks on Kiev and other Ukrainian cities for a week.
And of course, this comes ahead of the next round of peace talks on Sunday in Abu Dhabi.
Personally asked President Putin not to fire into Kiev and the various towns for a week, and he agreed to do that. And I have to tell you, it was very nice. A lot of people said, don't waste the call, you're not going to get that, and he did it, and we're very happy that they did it.
While Ukraine is battling its harshest winter since the war began. Before Trump's announcement, Russian strikes killed at least 6 people in central and southern Ukraine on Thursday. Shelling hit Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, and President Zelensky's hometown. And this comes following a major drone attack on Odessa, sparking fires at industrial sites.
The Ukrainian president said more than 450 apartment blocks in Kiev are without heating. He is counting on U.S. support to secure the week-long pause in Russian attacks on Ukraine's energy grid.
We thank the American side for their efforts to stop the attacks on the energy sector at this time, and we hope that America will be able to ensure this more than 450 apartment buildings in several districts of Kyiv are without heating, most of them after the strikes.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz welcomed the truce efforts, but strongly condemned Russia's systematic destruction of Ukraine's civilian infrastructure. Stepping up military and energy aid, German Ambassador Heiko Toms confirmed that 9 Iris-T air defense systems have already been delivered, with more on the way. He said that Berlin is also sending 33 combined mobile heat and power plants to help.
Now in Brussels, the European Union blacklisted Russia for money laundering risks. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said that the move will raise costs for Russian banks, and she also said that it is working on the process of Ukraine joining European Union.
The EU today blacklisted Russia for risk of money laundering. This will slow down and increase the costs of transactions with Russian banks. Work is also advancing on the 90 billion loan and the 20th sanctions package. Any measure that limits Russia's war funding must be on the table.
And on the battlefield, Ukraine says it has received the bodies of 1,000 soldiers in the latest exchange with Russia. Moscow confirmed it received 38 bodies of its own troops.
Now in Moscow, Russian President Putin welcomed Emirati leader Mohammed bin Zayed. The visit comes ahead of the next round of talks in United Arab Emirates. And will U.S. may be heading to another government funding shutdown?
State Democrats have rejected a key procedural vote in protest to President Trump's hardline immigration crackdown. The six-bill spending package was intended to fund more than three-quarters of the federal government.
Well, some Republicans also joined Democrats as the package was rejected by a 55-45 vote. Democrats had vowed to block the measure unless funding for the Department of Homeland Security is separated. They also want to place new legal limits on Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The agency is at the center of Trump's crackdown on immigration, and Democrats say they are prepared to pass the other 5 bills immediately, covering departments such as defense, health, education, transportation, and financial services, if Republicans agree to separate DHS funding.
If Republicans refuse to work with us to rein in ICE and to end the violence, they're telling the American people they're choosing to protect ICE over choosing to protect people's safety. Americans, by and large, support law enforcement. I do. And most people support border security. I do as well. But Americans do not support ICE terrorizing our streets, operating outside the law, killing American citizens. The madness and violence must end.
Now, a partial shutdown starting Saturday seems almost impossible to avoid, although Democrats in the White House were still frantically seeking a last-minute deal. If funding lapses, hundreds of thousands of public employees could be placed on leave or forced to work without pay.
However, President Donald Trump said that Republicans and Democrats have agreed to get the vast majority of the federal government funded till September. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said he was working with the U.S. Congress to fully fund the government and avoid another shutdown.
And as the Senate was voting on the package, more than 60 faith leaders staged a civil disobedience protest inside the Hart Senate office building. Video shared on social media by advocacy group Faith in Action showed activists singing hymns as police officers detained demonstrators.
The first of our siblings are being arrested.
Right, to give us more details on this, our correspondent Susan Terani sent us this report from New York. Let's listen in.
The U.S. Senate failed to advance the government funding bill as negotiations continue to avoid a shutdown now just hours from the deadline. The holdup centers around a push by Democrats and the White House to separate funding for the Department of Homeland Security from the rest of the government instead of passing one massive spending bill. President Trump says the talks are still active and telling reporters, quote, "We're getting close. Lawmakers are racing against the clock to strike a last-minute deal. If no agreement is reached by a Friday deadline, parts of the federal government will shut down, disrupting federal workers, services, and potentially border and immigration operations tied to the Department of Homeland Security and its funding." Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer says talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping have delivered really good progress, including on visa-free travel and trade tariffs.
And all these statements, the Starmer's visit is, of course, the first by a British Prime Minister since 2018 and comes as several Western leaders move to rebuild ties with Beijing. And this is amid growing uncertainty in relations with the United States.
Well, the two leaders met at the Great Hall of the People, where both emphasized the importance of closer cooperation to navigate global challenges. Starmer said the UK was seeking a more mature and strategic relationship focused on practical cooperation. President Xi, for his part, called for stronger ties built with a long-term perspective.
Now, later, Starmer said UK-China relations were in a strong position, pointing to progress on trade issues. Downing Street confirmed that tariffs on British whiskey exports to China will be cut from 10% to 5%. The Scotch Whisky Association welcomed the move, saying it would help revive exports to a key growth market.
During meeting with Premier Li Qiang, Starmer signed a series of cooperation agreements. China has agreed to allow visa-free travel for British passport holders for visits of up to 30 days. This has brought the UK into line with around 50 other countries, including France, Germany, Australia and Japan.
I'd like to echo a Chinese phrase, which I think captures the essence of what I'm talking about. Pursue common goals whilst reserving differences. That is what we're working together to achieve. And I want to say that my profound belief is the more we engage, the more we visit each other, discuss, trade, build business links, cultural links, sports links, you name it.
Now, the agreements also include cooperation on tackling migrant smuggling supply chains, boosting British exports, strengthening health collaboration and reinforcing the UK-China Trade Commission. The Prime Minister is going to travel to Shanghai today before stopping briefly in Japan to meet Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi.
Now, reacting to Britain's move to do business with China, US President Donald Trump, he said that it poses serious risk for United Kingdom.
Now, relations between China and the UK deteriorated from 2020 when Beijing imposed a national security law on Hong Kong and cracked down on pro-democracy activists in the former British colony.
Nevertheless, China remains Britain's third largest trading partner. Starmer is accompanied by around 60 business and cultural leaders as his Labour government prioritizes economic growth.
Now, during the visit, pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca announced plans to invest $15 billion in China by 2030, describing the country as a major driver of scientific innovation.
Challenges to the bilateral relationship still remain. Starmer confirmed that he raised the case of Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai, as well as concerns over the treatment of Uyghurs.
Now, China denies allegations of mass detention and rights abuses. Disputes over alleged cyber activity, espionage, and China's stance on Russia's war in Ukraine have also been weighing on relations.
During the visit, Starmer was seen at a local restaurant where he paused to greet diners and pose for photographs.
And well, Taiwan is rehearsing for war from its shoreline.
In a live-fire defense drill, Taiwan's military simulated repelling a Chinese assault from the sea. The exercise unfolded at the Zhouying Naval Base in southern Kaohsiung, one of Taiwan's most sensitive military hubs. The scenario unfolded as an unidentified vessel loitered offshore. Drones were then dispatched to track it, missile boats surged forward, and snipers took positions on the beach. Finally, anti-ship Husiong Feng missiles were locked onto the targets from hidden mobile launchers, making the drill ambush-ready.
This was the first exercise held openly since China's latest round of war games around the island in late December. Taiwan's military says the operation has built a complete kill chain, from detection to interception. They claim being fully prepared to face ambush across sea and land.
In the face of the CCP's continuous grey zone harassment, all our officers and soldiers will continue to strengthen the mobile deployment of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, as well as our contingency response capabilities to integrate peacetime and wartime operations.
Now, beyond the shoreline, pressure is mounting. China's recent Justice Mission exercise rehearsed a full maritime blockade in December. They sent more than 130 aircraft sorties and dozens of naval vessels into waters surrounding Taiwan. For the first time, large numbers entered Taiwan's final buffer zone before territorial waters.
Yet, Taiwan's defense strategy is growing sharper. President Lai Ching-te's administration has already ordered a shift in their drills module. Scripted displays have hence switched to a combat realistic training that mirror actual battlefield conditions.
Any invasion from the Chinese front could be complex. Chinese forces would need to cross the Taiwan Strait and funnel troops onto a limited number of viable landing beaches, as many are now heavily fortified. And with that, it's time for us to slip into a very short break on World DNA.
But don't go anywhere. Let's stand up on the other side of World DNA. We start with direct flights between Bangladesh and Pakistan that have now resumed after 14 years. National carrier Biman Bangladesh Airlines departed for Karachi on Thursday, marking the first regular flight since 2012. We'll get you all the details on that on the other side.
Also coming up on the other side, South Korea has taken steps to address the menace of AI deepfakes. It has become the first country in the world to implement a law aimed at regulating AI. All this and more coming up on the other side of World DNA. Stay tuned. You're watching WION World is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
At a time when the world is hyper-connected, we look at celebrities who've advocated for frequent periods of digital detox, trace the evolution of horror genre, and meet the team of Kohra as the show returns for its second season. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
welcome. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Beyond World is One with me, Jyotsna Kumar, and my colleague, Disha Bisla. Let's begin with the headlines.
Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that, and it's even more dangerous, I think, for Canada to get into business with China.
Donald Trump says it is very dangerous for close ally Britain to deal with China. As UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer visits Beijing, he even adds that it is more dangerous than Canada to get into business with China.
They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department.
Donald Trump says he hopes to avoid military action against Iran and plans further talks on a possible nuclear deal, while Defense Secretary Hegseth says the military is ready to act if needed.
I personally asked President Putin not to fire into Kiev and the various towns for a week, and he agreed to do that, and I have to tell you, it was very nice.
Trump says Vladimir Putin has agreed to his request to halt attacks on Kiev and other Ukrainian cities after Russian strikes cripple power supplies during extreme cold. Ukraine's President Zelensky thanks Trump.
New Zealand declines U.S. President Donald Trump's border peace invitation, joining countries like France, Norway, and Croatia, and rejecting the proposal, though it will continue to monitor developments.
A lot of people said they'll never disarm. Looks like they're going to disarm. And they did help us with those bodies, getting them out.
Donald Trump claims Hamas will disarm, a step the group has not confirmed, but will be a major progress in fragile ceasefire with Israel. He praises Hamas for helping return the remains of the last hostages.
Well, Trump's border chief Tom Homan says some federal agents could be withdrawn from Minneapolis after a public backlash over shooting deaths of 2 Americans. But he maintains that immigration enforcement will continue.
Direct flights between Pakistan and Bangladesh resume after 14 years, with Miman Bangladesh Airlines operating its inaugural Dhaka to Karachi flight, receiving a water cannon salute at Karachi's airport.
Taiwan completes maiden underwater sea trial for first domestically developed submarine, a milestone in a project aimed at strengthening deterrence against Chinese Navy and protecting vital sea lanes in event of war.
President Donald Trump said he will announce his pick to chair the Federal Reserve on Friday, choosing a successor to Jerome Powell as his term ends in May, a move that could reshape U.S. monetary policy and markets. Direct flights between Bangladesh and Pakistan have resumed after 14 years.
And this comes amid a growing bonhomie between the two nations, which have had an uneasy relationship since their split in 1971. Direct flights between Dhaka and Karachi will now operate twice weekly. National carrier Biman Bangladesh Airlines departed for Karachi on Thursday, marking the first regular flight since 2012. Now, the airline said their resumption would promote trade and commerce, expand educational exchanges, and foster cultural ties between the two countries. Since 2012, travelers between Bangladesh and Pakistan had to use connecting flights through Gulf hubs such as Dubai and Doha.
Previously, it was a long journey. We had to travel through any other country like Dubai, Sri Lanka, Sharjah, but now it's good move after a long wait. We have been waiting for such an opportunity because we travel continuously. There are so many people waiting in Pakistan to come here and some waiting here in Bangladesh to go there to Pakistan, as there was no direct flight so far.
Now, Bangladesh-Pakistan ties have seen a tectonic shift since ousting of Sheikh Hasina in 2024 that ended her 15-year rule.
Cargo ships resumed sailing from Karachi to Bangladesh's key port of Chittagong in November 2024. Trade between the two countries has since increased and people-to-people contact has also grown. Pakistani singers have performed in Dhaka while Bangladeshi patients have traveled to Pakistan for medical treatment. And India is strengthening its position as a global energy leader at the ongoing India Energy Week, and that is being held in Goa. The event is seeing participation from several policymakers, leaders, as well as innovators who are calling for advanced solutions for a secure and sustainable energy ecosystem.
WION's Dharamjot Kaur spoke to the chairman and managing director of Oil India, Ranjit Raj, who called India the next exploration hub in clean and sustainable energy. Listen in.
India is the next exploration destination as far as the global E&P construct is concerned. And we strongly believe that there we need collaborations with international oil companies and national oil companies who has mastered the art of deep and ultra-deep water drilling and exploration efforts. As far as Oil India is concerned or India is concerned, we are seeking those collaborations. A lot of discussions are happening around that. And Oil India as a national oil company is currently carrying out exploration in shallow water of Andaman Nicobar Basin and Kerala Konkan Basin. That's what we have highlighted here. And we have just completed the seismic data acquisition of 2D lines, about 4,000 plus kilometers, in our deep water block, deep and ultra deep water block in Mahanadi and KG. We are continuing with the 3D seismic data acquisition. So all this is primarily aimed at striking a big discovery in this part of the globe. Currently, we import about 88 to 90% of crude oil. What matters here is the exploration becomes the thrust. So while biofuel will be an import substitution initiative, energy intensive or energy intensity reduction as part of the refining process is an import substitution responsibility. Strategic petroleum reserves is an import substitution responsibility as far as supply side assurance is concerned. Sourcing from multiple countries as high as 40 numbers of countries is a part of that. But most importantly, domestic exploration should be given a thrust, and that's what the current government, the current dispensation is aspiring to. A lot of policy reforms has been done. The ORD Act has been amended. The PNG rules have been promulgated. The 1 million square kilometer of area in the offshore waters of India, both East Coast, West Coast and Andaman Basin, is now open. OLP 10 bidding round is now available for bidding. So all these are augurs well for our effort towards energy independence. Oil India will remain focused on exploration and development and production. That's the core portfolio we have. And we will also create a parallel vertical while we have Numaligarh refinery as part of our downstream initiative, which is getting expanded from 3 million ton to 9 million ton. We are also utilizing our know-how of subsurface, because we understand subsurface by virtue of our expertise in the E&P business. So we realize that carbon sequestration is an initiative, zero flaring and converting them, an initiative called underground storage of natural gas. The repurposing of the abundant wells, which was drilled up to a depth of 4,000 to 5,000 meter, is an opportunity for geothermal energy. So all that is actually working out as part of our alternative energy portfolio.
And artificial intelligence has become the subject of a debate as the deepfake menace has provoked outrage globally.
And now, South Korea has taken steps to address this. It has become the very first country in the world to implement a law aimed at regulating AI. Now let's take a closer look at this law now. It is known as AI Basic Act, It requires firms to add invisible digital watermarks to AI-generated creative work like cartoons and artwork. And most importantly, this act mandates deepfakes to be clearly labeled as AI-generated. And additionally, assessment and human supervision of high-impact AI systems that have potential to significantly alter human life, safety, and fundamental rights has been made compulsory. Firms that violate these provisions can be fined up to $20,400 US.
Now, incidentally, the European Union enacted an AI law in 2024 itself. However, it will be fully implemented only by 2027. It banned AI application in areas such as behavioral manipulation of people and biometric identification. It called for all high-risk systems to be assessed before being introduced in the market. This law also requires generative AI like ChatGPT to disclose the content was generated by AI and prevent the generation of illegal content.
Now, the AI Basic Act is perceived to be of vital importance in South Korea, which account for almost 53% of deepfake porn victims. In 2024, authorities uncovered large numbers of chat rooms on Telegram that were distributing fake sexual images made with AI. However, the law has been panned by some human rights groups for not having enough provisions to protect citizens from risk.
And this comes at a juncture as AI chatbot Grok has been embroiled in a massive row for creating millions of AI-generated sexualized images of women. Multiple countries, including Indonesia, Malaysia, UK, France, India, Australia, US, and European Union, they initiated an investigation into this.
And finally, social media platform X announced in mid-January that it has implemented technological measures to prevent Grok from editing images of real people and revealing clothes. With South Korea taking a lead, the question remains whether other countries will follow that suit. Now, an asteroid is heading towards the moon, and right now there is a 4% chance of cataclysmic smash in 2032.
Astronomers say a collision will shatter the lunar surface and send shockwaves through the vacuum. If it does, Earth won't escape untouched. Take a look at this next report for more details.
Space rock known as 2024 YR4 has been under intense scrutiny since its discovery in late 2024. Initially, astronomers tracked it for a possible Earth hit, a rare event with grave consequences, before ruling out that threat completely. But what emerged next has once again captured the attention of the global scientific community. There is now about a 4% chance this asteroid could slam into the moon on 22nd December 2032. At roughly 60 meters across, comparable to a moderately large building, 2024 YR4 is not enormous by cosmic standards, yet big enough to pack a punch. If it impacts the lunar surface, models suggest it would unleash explosive energy equivalent to several million tons of TNT, carving a crater up to a kilometer wide and flinging rock and dust into space. Researchers point out that if the moon is struck, hundreds of thousands of tons of lunar debris could be hurled off the moon's weak gravity well. Some fragments might fall towards Earth, burning up spectacularly in our atmosphere, a meteor storm unlike anything seen in modern history, while others could pose a hazard to satellites, space stations, or future lunar missions. If 2024 YR4 does strike our nearest neighbor, Earth will gain a front row seat to one of the rarest natural events in the solar system. Sensors, telescopes, and spacecraft will watch closely, gathering data that could reshape our understanding of lunar geology and the ever-present threat from the skies above.
All right, moving on, Oracle shares have fallen more than 50% from last year's all-time high, erasing about $463 billion in market value.
And the stock has surged in September after the company projected strong AI-driven cloud demand. The rally reversed after Oracle warned of sharply higher spending on AI data centers, raising questions about returns and balance sheet pressure. Now, following its December earnings, measures of Oracle's credit risk climbed to their highest level since 2009.
Microsoft has also come under pressure. While the company reported cloud revenue topping $50 billion for the first time, the stocks fell more than 11% after earnings. Microsoft's quarterly capex jumped to $37.5 billion, raising concerns that spending is accelerating faster than monetization.
Now, this shift has become part of a broader reassessment of the AI trade. Investors are increasingly questioning the sustainability of massive capital expenditure across the sector. Companies are all in on the infrastructure expansion without clear near-term profitability.
Now, concerns have also grown around circular funding arrangements, where capital appears to flow among a small group of firms. OpenAI is expected to burn as much as $115 billion in cash by 2029.
Now, consulting firm Bain estimates the AI industry will need $2 trillion in annual revenue by 2030 just to support computing demand, with a potential shortfall of $800 billion. These figures have intensified comparisons with the dot-com era.
And despite the concerns, AI investment continues to accelerate. Tech giants are pressing ahead with multi-billion-dollar data center expansions, largely funded through a mix of cash flows, debt, and partnerships. Supporters argue that AI adoption is moving rapidly. Millions of users already rely on generative AI tools for work and also automation.
And still, even AI's strongest advocates acknowledge the risk of overspending. While the technology's long-term potential remains significant, markets are increasingly focused on execution and returns. As with previous technology cycles, the AI boom is likely to produce clear winners but costly missteps along the way. A U.S. auto safety regulator, NHTSA, has launched an investigation after a Waymo self-driving vehicle hit a child near an elementary school in California.
The incident happened during school drop-off hours in Santa Monica, with the child suffering minor injuries. Authorities are now examining whether the autonomous vehicle followed appropriate safety behavior in a school zone.
According to the NHTSA, the incident took place on January 23rd when a child ran across from road from behind a double-parked SUV towards the school and was struck by the Alphabet Unit Waymo autonomous vehicle. NHTSA said the area had other children, a crossing guard, and multiple double-parked vehicles at the time of the incident. And according to Waymo, the child suddenly entered the roadway from behind a tall SUV, moving directly into the vehicle's path. The self-driving vehicle detected the child immediately, applied hard brakes, and slowed down from about 70 miles per hour to less than 6 miles per hour just before the impact.
After the incident, the child stood up, walked to the sidewalk, and Waymo called emergency services. The vehicle remained stopped and moved only after law enforcement cleared it to leave the scene. NHTSA said it will examine whether the vehicle exercised adequate caution near a school during drop-off hours, including compliance with speed limits and safety protocols. The agency will also review Waymo's response after the incident and the vehicle's intended behavior in school zones. World number one Aryna Sabalenka will take on Elena Rybakina in the Australian Open final for the second time in 4 years.
And it will be a rematch of the 2023 final, which was won by Sabalenka. Top seed Sabalenka won Elena Svitolina in the first semi-final. Sabalenka was too strong for 12th seed Svitolina, who had upset world number 3 Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals. Sabalenka was dominant from the get-go and hit 29 winners against the Ukrainian. The four-time Grand Slam champion made just 11 unforced errors and dropped only 11 points on serve. Sabalenka has yet to drop a set this year and is now on 11-match winning streak. The 27-year-old will also be aiming for some redemption after losing to American Madison Keys in last year's Australian Open final.
Sabalenka, who won the Melbourne Grand Slam in 2023 and 2024, becomes the first player since Martina Hingis in 2002 to reach 4 consecutive Australian Open women's singles finals.
I cannot believe that, honestly, and yeah, that's incredible achievement, but the job not done yet, and super happy with the win. She's such a tough opponent, was playing really incredible tennis throughout the whole week, and yeah, just super happy to be through this tough match.
Now, the performance was ruthless, but there was a small hiccup for Sabalenka. It occurred in the start of the 4th game of the opening set when a hindrance was called. The rule states that a hindrance cane will be called when a distraction occurs that prevents a player from making a shot, and that can also be an opponent's loud noise. Swedish chair umpire Louise Ezema Engzeli deemed Sabalenka made a prolonged grunt after she made a return. The shot seemed to be going long but landed inside the baseline, giving Svitolina the chance to play on.
And that's when the umpire intervened. Sabalenka asked for a video review, but the point penalty was upheld when the chair umpire confirmed her decision that the grunt was more elongated than usual. Sabalenka will now face 2022 Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina on Saturday, and Rybakina got the better of American Jessica Pegula in the second semi-final at Rod Laver Arena.
Now, 5th seed Rybakina converted her 4th match point against 6th seed Jessica Pegula to complete a 6-3, 7-6 triumph. Rybakina returns to a Grand Slam final for the first time since her defeat to Sabalenka 3 years back. And now let's take a look at what's making news in the world of showbiz. Kannada film actor Mayur Patel has been booked by Bengaluru police after allegedly causing a series of road accidents. The star was driving under the influence of alcohol, and according to reports, the incident took place near the Command Hospital area in Domlur. The actor's car, allegedly being driven at high speed, lost control and rammed into 3 to 4 parked vehicles. Several cars were damaged in the collision. The police have registered a case against the actor and are investigating the matter.
US singer Chris Brown appeared at a London court for a brief hearing ahead of his assault trial scheduled for later this year. The R&B star faces charges related to an alleged unprovoked attack on a music producer at a London nightclub in 2023. Prosecutors claim that Brown assaulted the producer with a bottle, causing serious injuries. The singer has denied the charges, including attempting to cause grievous bodily harm. Brown was arrested last year in Manchester after returning to the UK for the first time since the incident.
The Delhi High Court has rejected a defamation suit filed by Indian Revenue Service officer Sameer Wankere. The complaint was filed over his alleged portrayal in the Netflix series The Bads of Bollywood. The court ruled that it lacked territorial jurisdiction to hear the case and ordered that the plaint be returned to Wankere for presentation before a competent court. The court also granted him the liberty to refile the case under relevant provisions of the Civil Procedure Code, declining to examine the merits of the defamation claim at this stage.
Well, that's all we had for you in this edition of World DNA.
We're going to give you some climate stories that have been making headlines across the world. Thanks for staying with us. Stay tuned. You're watching Beyond World is One.
where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well.
At a time when the world is hyper-connected